to call this meeting of the school board to order. Kat, if you could do the roll call, please.
Brian Boyle. Here. Kim Farah.
Excused.
Stephen Finnegan.
Here.
Amy Gentile.
Excused.
Barbara Kishka. Katie Houston. Sheila Lewis. Sean O'Neill. Kristen Dovish.
Present. Next order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Steve, want to lead us, please? The first order of business that we have tonight is to have a public hearing on accepting the ESSER 3 funds. Timberlane Regional School District, so I'm going to open that public hearing. Sorry. Thank you, Sean. Do I have a second by Sheila? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? 700. So the Timberlane Regional School District was awarded $1,223,191.28 funding under the American Rescue Plan Act in Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund, which is also referred to as ESSER 3. This money will be available for use through September 30th, 2024. We are required to set aside 20% of the funds to address learning loss and providing mental health services and support among students. The grant also has a focus on large dollar construction projects, and it mandates stricter guidelines compared to other federal grants the district has accessed in the past. For example, it requires compliance with federal regulations, including but not limited to the Davis-Bacon and Related Acts, DBRA, which will involve large amounts of time and effort from the business department. Whereas this is a public hearing, do we have any questions on the ESSER funds and any comments about this? I will ask for a second time. Do we have any questions? Any comments on the acceptance of the ESSER funding? And as required, I will ask one more time. Are there any questions or comments on this funding? If there are no questions or comments, may I have a motion, please? I have a motion by Sheila. Do I have a second by Sean? Sean, thank you very much. Do I need a motion for that, Sean? I'll ask you that because this one's...
I would do a motion to close the public hearing, then you move on to the motion to accept it.
That's what I thought. So,
I'll make that motion.
well, thank you. So I have a motion by Sean to close the public hearing, seconded by Sheila. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? 700. Now, Sheila. Thank you.
And I'll second that.
Motion by Sheila, second by Sean. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? 700.
I'd like to make a second motion. I'd like to motion to direct that 20% of the funds go to address learning loss and provide mental health services and support for students. The remainder will be applied to the items identified by the capital improvement plan as eligible for ESSER funds. Is there a second?
Do I have a second on that?
I'll second that for discussion.
Okay.
I mean, the 20% requirement
Right.
is defined by that to do that, but I think where you're really going with this is to say the remainder is going to be for capital improvement. And I don't think anybody can argue that it's not desperately needed. So I would be supporting that as well.
And just for discussion, I'm on the capital improvement committee, and we did earmark several items that were ESSER eligible that certainly would use up all of that remaining money there. Our facilities are desperately in need of help.
Brian?
Question, Barbara, so where did this 20% come from? Where did you, where did that come
It's in that second paragraph on the, we are required to set aside 20% of
from?
the
Okay,
funds.
so you are, so I guess that's my, the point is you have to do it.
Exactly.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Is there any other discussion on the motion? Without, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? 7-0-0.
Yep.
Motion passes. Moving on to the next order of business, we have the approval of the minutes from December 2nd.
Minutes from December 2nd, 2021.
Motion by Sheila, second by Barbara. Is there any discussion or comments on these? If not, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Abstaining, 2. So we're 5-0-2. Motion passes to approve the minutes. Moving on to the next item on the agenda. This is our student and staff recognition, and I see a whole bunch of young faces in the audience tonight, which is awesome. And we have our varsity football team here, or our football program, so I'm going to hand it over to Assistant Superintendent Chris Kellen to make a presentation.
Thank you very much. It is indeed my honor to present to the school board, to Superintendent Cochran, to residents and members of the public, many of our staff who are here tonight, many of which probably either have currently or have had. We have principals here. Everybody, it's my honor to present the State of New Hampshire Division II Championship Football Team, the Timberlane Owls. It is indeed an honor worthy of a standing ovation. It has not been done in 20 or 21 years that it was last done by a Timberlane football team. I have the privilege to have known several of these boys for some time now and had the opportunity to work with them when I helped out with the Tornadoes organization, and I can tell you that these young men have put in the time, effort, all of the hard work, and more than anything, have demonstrated an incredible commitment to each other as a team, to their craft, playing football, as well as who they are as young men. They certainly serve as role models for the rest of their peers. They have just done an outstanding job, and it starts with their coaches. These coaches have been incredible. They are always available for these students. They are there very early in the morning and very late at night. Even when buses break down, they still stick around and watch film. The commitment is truly remarkable, and that's what it takes to be a championship team. That's what it takes to be incredibly successful. And their commitment isn't just to their school district, it's not just to their school, it's to each other. I've known and seen and have personal experience watching how they are committed to one another as a brotherhood, and they're committed to their coaches, where they have the utmost respect for them, and everything they do is for one another. It's really an outstanding thing to have been watching and been part of. It's something that has been brewing for some time. I can tell these coaches, and there are some members of the audience here who stood down at that opposite that fence in front of the concession stand 7, 8, 9 years ago watching games, and there were a lot of seasons that the team had struggled, and nobody ever gave up. These coaches continued to persevere and to build a program that was based on being the best that you all can as young men and as players, and it's just been really something remarkable for our schools. So thank you on behalf of everyone for what you've been able to demonstrate, what you've been able to show, and what you've been able to achieve. I'd like to give Coach Fitz an opportunity to maybe say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you to Dr. Cochran, Mr. Kellen, and the board for inviting us tonight. The outpouring of support that we've received from this community during the season, on our postseason run, and since we've won has been overwhelming. The kids really appreciated it. So thank you again to the school and the community. What you have here before you is a group of outstanding young men, as Mr. Kellen said, guys that consistently conduct themselves appropriately in the school and in the community. They care about each other. They represent Timberlane in a fine fashion all the time. And the gravy on top of that was that they can play football a little bit too. So it was certainly a fun ride with these guys. I thank them for all their support and dedication. And again, thank you for having us tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, Coach. I'm going to put one of the team captains, Cooper Kelly, on the spot and see if he could say a few words for him.
So I obviously wasn't planning anything, but I'm beyond grateful to be a part of this team and this community. The support we've gotten over the years through the highs and lows has been just outstanding, and there's not any other team, community, and just everyone to be a part of. I'm beyond grateful, and I will remember this for the rest of my life.
All right, one more here, then Don Polarian, please.
Same thing as Cooper. Wasn't planning for this, but just grateful to play with all these kids. I've known them forever, and it's just a thing that's been going on for a while. Glad it happened.
They are indeed a family, and I can tell you as an extension of that family, and that's what some of us parents refer to one another as our football family. And I see some of them here. And Boosters President Jacqueline Kelly is here. I'm not going to make you speak if you don't want to. But I will say we do have some championship apparel coming onto the Boosters website.
It will be available the week of December 27th. If you want to go on TRHS Timberlane Football Boosters Facebook page, it will be available. You can purchase what you would like.
Thank you very much. So, once again, let's hear it for our football team. And thank you for a great season of Friday nights and a couple of Saturdays there as well. So thank you all very much.
Congratulations, guys, and congratulations to the coaching staff and Coach Fitz. Wasn't there something? Didn't Coach Fitz get recognized, if I'm correct? Yes, I thought so. Coach of the Year. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Cooper, Player of the Year, right? D2 Player of the Year. Good job, guys. Okay, well, the football team is exiting. I'm going to just take a minute and say good evening to everyone. As we approach the next item on the agenda, that would be the delegates and individuals portion of our meeting, I'd like to just state the following. No. I will not be reading the prepared statement that has been needed to be read at the meetings lately. It is my hope that everyone here will act appropriately and with respect towards others. If that is not the case, I will immediately interrupt delegates and individuals to read the statement. Again, it is my hope that that will not become necessary. This portion of the agenda will be capped at 30 minutes. Speakers will be chosen at random. All submitted requests to speak forms have been given a number, and we will use an app to pull the numbers and determine who has the opportunity to present tonight. Each speaker is given a maximum of 3 minutes on the floor. We ask that you keep your comments concise and appropriate for a school setting. We realize that there have been issues that have brought concern to many people and emotions are heightened. We understand that, and it does not go unrecognized. But we ask that you remember that you too are representing Timberlane when you speak, especially with a heightened media presence. We will listen to speakers for a total of 30 minutes, and then we will return to the next items on the agenda. Delegates and individuals has always been an opportunity for people to speak and voice their comments and concerns to the board. It is a historical practice that the board does not respond to speakers or engage in dialogue during this time. The board will not provide responses to speakers, rather we will take the speaker's points under advisement. This is not an attempt to be rude or dismissive. This is the practice that we follow. We also remind you that we cannot always answer your questions, even outside of delegates and individuals forum, as much of the information we are privy to of its own is privileged information. This is for a multitude of reasons, and we are subject to rules and restrictions beyond our control. We recognize that this can be a frustration to many of you, but it is also frustrating to all of us. I'm hopeful that we can have a productive delegates and individual sessions tonight. We have 9 speakers, so all 9 will be entitled to speak tonight. Again, we will be calling them through random, and we will start now.
First up is Katie Seidel from Plastow. Sorry if I messed up your last name.
I guess my major concern is with the procedures and policies of how we're vetting the teachers that are in our classrooms and with our children on a daily basis, considering the issues that we've had over the past couple of years. Moreover, I'm wondering if there's any communication between administration, considering I've been reaching out to almost all of you and not receiving any reply on anything, any of my concerns. So I guess my problem with that is if there's no communication between us and between you, then nothing is going to work. We can't protect our children. We can't keep our children safe if we can't communicate with you and receive communication back. And that's just how it is. I feel that the ball has been completely dropped in keeping our children safe, and there's been absolutely no addressing this issue. So I guess better communication would be called for. I guess how are we teaching our children to communicate if we ourselves cannot communicate with each other?
Coral Campy, Danville.
Good evening. Coral Hampy Danville, TTA President and proud member of the middle school family. I'm reading a statement written by one of my colleagues, but I think puts into words what each of us felt this week. I wanted to reach out regarding my experience on Wednesday, December 15th, 2021. I arrived at Timberlane Middle School and entered as usual. Nothing seemed amiss, so I began to get settled and ready for the day. Emails from students or parents of students began to come through to members of our team explaining that they were not going to be attending the school due to the threat of a shooter. My first response was that they must have been mistaken because as a school district employee, I couldn't believe that we would not be informed, even if the threat was a rumor. I was then told by an administrator that the high school parents and staff were informed by the SAU that there was a threat, and that there would be increased police presence throughout the day. Being that I work in the building adjacent to the high school, I felt betrayed by the SAU for lack of communication and essential information that would have enabled me to do my job better. I was blindsided, unaware of the facts of the situation. I was unable to address gossip or rumors, and so I was not prepared to address parent and student questions or concerns. I was shocked hearing that parents knew more than I did as an employee of this district. I realize that details need to remain confidential, but I feel that it was a great discourtesy to the employees of the middle school to exclude us from receiving pertinent information. And as we have heard tonight, communication is an issue in this district that we all need to work on. Thank you.
Myra Hogan, Plastow.
Good morning, good afternoon, sorry. No, good evening. My name is Myra Hogan, and I'm here as both a taxpayer and a teacher and parent of past students. I've lived in this district for nearly 30 years now. My children went to Timberlane. This is my 43rd year teaching, my 41st in Timberlane. Recently, there's been a lot of change in this district. What once was the district that people moved into because of the school system has now become a place where homes are selling, people are leaving, our students are enrolling in private schools and being homeschooled. We are being trashed in the newspapers and on social media. In the many years that I have taught in this district, I have never seen such a sad state of affairs. The interfighting of our school board, administration, and parents is palpable. The dislike and distrust of our leadership is frightening. As a teacher, I feel that the lack of respect from this board has become disheartening. I am so sad that the district that I chose to spend my entire teaching career has reached such a low. It's embarrassing. Entering into negotiations this year, I'm on the negotiating team, with the school board, seemed like they had an agenda to slash benefits for their teachers. It's a sign of the times, I know that. The bottom budget line is much more important to this board than education of our children. When I signed my first contract in 1981, there were things promised to me. I know contracts change. I took the job knowing that I was not going to be paid as well as my college classmates, but that I would at least have retirement to look forward to. About 12 years ago, the state took away our health insurance benefits for retirement. That hit hard, but not as hard as our own school board trying to take away a retirement incentive that has been on the books for well over 25 years. This is low. We have negotiated several contracts since its inception. Nobody has ever tried to take it away before. My plans for retirement included this incentive, as did everyone else who signed on to a contract since then. Timberlane is not alone in a benefit such as this. Several of our neighboring school districts have retirement incentives, and most of them are much better than what Timberlane offers. The school board is intent on splitting up the union, but by offering more money in the 7 track if we give up this incentive. It's purposely trying to divide us. But you didn't. We stand here today more united than ever. We stand in solidarity with one another, the old and the young. Teachers only want what's good for the students, and that includes an atmosphere of learning in a safe and comfortable environment. Our students need the best teachers in the district that the district can get. But with the amount of teachers leaving the profession and Timberlane, our students' education is in jeopardy. We will not attract the best teachers with the contract we already have, let alone the one the school board has proposed. We are developing a reputation in this area of being a district in trouble. Good teachers will look elsewhere for more money, better benefits, and a better reputation. We will get teachers that the other districts don't want, the cast-offs. When I leave this district, I want to leave on my own accord, not because I'm being pushed out. That is how I feel about the board is treating us. I am so glad that my children went to Timberlane during a time when Timberlane was at its best. Please help us save the district. We love our district.
Thank you.
Osvaldo Hernandez Atkinson.
How you doing? I'm here. I'm going to speak on a couple of issues that have been going through my head the last couple of days. And me and my wife, we moved here a year and a half ago from Salem, New Hampshire. We thought Atkinson was a great community. Nice small town. I grew up in Pelham. I love the small community. I love that sense of teachers are supposed to teach and not indoctrinate our children, this base that you guys are going to. From what I understand, you guys had a shooting scare in the school recently. You guys have had a teacher accused of sexually inappropriate actions towards one of your students. A couple of weeks ago, maybe a week and a half ago, Timberlane Atkinson Academy, where our children go to, had a lockdown, and we weren't informed. We had an email after the fact. Am I to understand that you guys can take liberty with my children to do whatever you want? To take them and do however you choose? Is the next step to where you're going to take our children out of school and just bring them wherever you want to bring them and then tell us after the fact? Are you going to take them to a booster center and get them vaccinated without us knowing? Where are the stops? Where is this all going to end? You don't even give your teachers, our educators, the people that we want to educate our children, you don't give them respect and common decency to speak to them and tell them what's going on, to let them know of the threats that are going on in the school. You're more concerned about a piece of paper over your mouth than vetting teachers that have our children. That's our most important commodity in this world, is our children. I don't give a shit how much money you have. My child is the most important thing to me in my life. You can go ahead and stop me all you want. I don't
I'm
care.
just asking you to watch your language.
I'll watch my language when I'm done.
No, you can watch it now.
Because what's going on right now is you guys are all intent on seizing power from us. You're supposed to work for us. You're supposed to communicate with us like the lady was saying a minute ago. The end game is, and I spoke of this before, is I want you guys all off the board. And I don't understand how the chairperson, the person who should be listening to this and taking this in most of all, is exempt from this. All of a sudden, she's the one who takes this power and shuns us, has one of my friends arrested, has me escorted out of this building for trying to speak on behalf of our children. And the steps that you guys are taking. You guys are more totalitarian than the Nazi regime in the fucking 40s. You guys are disgusting.
Excuse me, sir. Your language is inappropriate. Excuse me.
Every single one. There ain't nothing about it. You guys are disgusting. You shouldn't even be up here.
Yeah. Next. Excuse me, do I need to stop and read that statement? I'm asking you to behave appropriately and watch your language. Is that difficult to do? Okay. Time. Excuse me. I have been very patient. Excuse me. Your 3 minutes is up. Please sit down and let the next speaker move forward. That's it. I'm calling a recess again. Thank you. No. Excuse me. We're calling a recess. No, we don't tolerate threats. The "I know where you live" is inappropriate. And if that's what... No. We're calling a recess. She's right. So let's listen. We get it. I'm fucking pissed as all of you. But as we know, she's right. Yelling at them, screaming, we know that does nothing. Let us finish. They leave, and then all these parents that are here supporting.
Do you support the $500 bounty that Moms for Liberty put out? Yes or no?
That's not our chapter.
Do you support it? Yes or no?
That's not our chapter.
Do you support it? Yes or no?
Comment on that. That's not our chapter.
That's a no.
Okay, this conversation's over.
We never invited you down.
Shutting our whole purpose down.
They are shutting everyone down. They are the ones calling the meeting. They are the ones shutting it down. Get up the microphone and fucking talk. I'm here and I don't have children.
Okay, it's 7:40. We're going to resume this meeting. And our next speaker is Nolan Pelletier, please.
Hello.
Hello.
I know you're all familiar with me. This is usually the part where I thank the board for letting me speak, but you do not have that privilege today. That privilege goes to the judge that allowed me to come back here because you were not afraid to use the police as your strong arm for safety. Shame on you, Plastow PD. But I'm going to put aside what I normally talk about because we have much bigger issues at hand tonight and this week. Because my daughter goes to the middle school. As far as I know, and what I've heard, there was an incident that occurred there. I've been trying to figure out what has been going on, and then in the midst of me trying to figure out what's going on, I found out about another incident before it's even made public. But really, when it comes to light, is when it's on the news. And that happened this morning. And that's just despicable. Our kids are put, we give our kids to you. You're supposed to provide a safe environment for our children. You're not. You're not providing a safe environment for our children. And then when stuff comes to light, you're not even letting us know. You're not notifying the parents. You're not giving us the chance to protect our kids. You are hiding stuff from us. You are hiding stuff from your employees. You are keeping stuff secret that should not be secret. You need to do better. You need to do better for the kids. You need to do better for the parents. You need to do better for the community. Because whether it's the threat of a shooting, teachers doing inappropriate stuff with kids, what is going on with this school? What is happening? You need to do better. All of you.
Kevin Doobie, Danville.
He left. Okay, thank you.
Next number,
Kate Lindbad, Plastow.
Good evening. My name is Kate Lindblad from Plastow. I have 3 kids in schools in the district, 2 at the middle school and 1 at Pollard. Thank you for allowing me the chance to speak tonight. I mentioned I'm a mom, but I'm also an active substitute teacher for the Timberlane district, as well as several other local districts. And I'd like to digress just for a second and tell anyone at home listening that substitute teachers are greatly in need in this district. And if you have any interest in subbing, I love it so much. And I invite you to look me up on Facebook and ask me any questions you want, and I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you. Okay. After the scare this week, it occurred to me that if I was subbing on a day there was an active shooter situation or frankly any type of emergency situation, I'm not confident that I would adequately know what to do. That's not to say that I don't believe the full-time staff members in the building wouldn't jump in to assist in a heartbeat. It's just impossible to predict what could happen and that they'd even be in a position to be able to. I am also acutely aware of the large number of subs needed regularly on a daily basis at every school in the district as I see the numerous open positions available every time I log in to take a job. To me, logically, that means that on any given day, there could be a considerable percentage of adults in each building who essentially have zero idea how to handle emergency situations and are generally far less knowledgeable about commonly understood building procedures like evacuation routes, alternate exits, or even where to find simple things like phone extensions or other rooms and offices in the building. Just as a few examples, because for every sub at some point, it's their first time inside the building, and if an emergency happened, they would just be flying by the seat of their pants. As a parent and a sub, that doesn't fill me with great confidence and also doesn't seem remotely fair to the students who would be expecting the adult in the room to know what to do, or to the parents or any other people in the building. It just wouldn't be safe. I am not here to criticize about what's already available to subs. I do notice the posted drill procedures in classrooms, diagrams of evacuation routes, listed phone extensions, etc., which are all very helpful to have in everyday normal or calm situations. But as soon as tensions rise in any emergency situation, it can certainly be difficult to absorb and understand instructions you've seldom looked at or that you'd even have a chance in the moment to read through. I am standing up here tonight to request that substitute teachers be required to receive, and any staff for that matter, be required to receive paid training. The Sanborn District, for example, requires substitutes and all staff to complete a series of different trainings, including Alice violent intruder training, within a certain time frame of being hired, and pays for those training hours, which matters for substitute teachers. Anyone, but substitutes specifically. I have completed the majority of the trainings myself just recently. In fact, the Alice trainings are the only ones I have left. I know there is a fine line with possibly turning off potential substitute candidates for requiring more of them, especially considering we're in such critical shortage, but I believe as long as you pay them, they'd be willing to. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate.
Melissa Marr, Plastow.
Good evening. Shockingly, I'm going to talk about the last few weeks' incidents. I feel like I was lucky to be able to scroll Facebook on the night before the potential school shooting threats. If I had sent my daughter that next morning, not knowing what was going on, and her walking into a half-empty building and everybody talking about it, we would have regressed with so far that we've gotten with her anxiety. So I'm very glad that I did find out about it the night before, and so I was able to make that decision for our family that she would stay home. It wasn't a situation that I was ready to make any other choice for. We're now in a day and age where your administration, Dr. Cochran, your administration are the ones that are going to have to administer, knowing that social media is a presence in what we do. Social media is the fastest way information gets around. Like it or not, rumors are going to fly very fast. It's one of those things that, unfortunately for you, you will need to be getting ahead of. If we had heard about that ahead of time, even a little bit of communication goes a long way. The Sanborn District was able to, the next day, get ahead of their rumors, and the statement that they put out made me as a parent feel very comfortable, and it was something that I really hoped that we would have heard from our administration. While I know that our teachers and our staff would do anything they could for my children, at the moment I did not feel like we were in a safe environment, and I didn't feel like the feelings of the parents were being taken into consideration. And the email that we got later on that day felt very condescending that we would believe rumors over social media. When there are so many, they do seem very believable. And when half the school in both high school and middle school doesn't show up, that says something. Whether it's pedophilia, whether it's school shootings, these are the things that we are worried about constantly on a daily basis. And we need communication. We need you to step up your communication. We need to know that you are on top of this. Not that, yes, we know about it, there's a police presence. We understand your feelings. We understand this could be a scary time for you. Do know that we have this taken care of, something along the lines that has a little emotion to it, and understand that we all do have feelings and we are worried for our children. We're sending our kids to school every day, hoping they get the best education they can, but also that they come home. Also that they aren't, touched inappropriately by, now I believe 3 in the last year and a half, faculty or staff. That's troublesome to me, it's worrisome, and I agree with the staff that we should not be in the news like this. Thank you.
Jess Pelletier, Plastow.
Hello. Tonight I just wanted to say
how disappointed I am in the response to the recent incidents that have happened over the past several weeks. There have been not one, but now 2 incidents involving inappropriate actions by a teacher and a substitute teacher. As you know, these took place at the high school and the middle school. Your response or lack thereof is unacceptable. Today's email referencing the arrest of David Russell was too little, too late, in my opinion, as that email was sent out after everybody had already seen it on the news. I understand that privacy rights and ongoing investigations have to be taken seriously. However, we as parents should not be learning about incidents like this on the news. On Friday, December 10th, a lot of us were made aware of another incident involving a substitute teacher at the middle school. Whether or not this teacher was arrested, escorted out, or simply asked to leave has little to do with notifying parents. If teachers, substitute teachers, or volunteers are found to be acting in inappropriate ways, parents must be notified. This can be done in a way that protects individuals' privacy and doesn't interfere with ongoing investigations. I did receive a response from the middle school after sending two emails to the superintendent, assistant superintendent, principal of the middle school, and the 7th grade principal. The district has yet to have been notified of these incidents occurring on Friday. This is completely unacceptable and needs to change. Others have spoken about the shooting threat from Monday, in which there was a poor response as well. I can tell you that you've lost the trust of parents and the children in this district, and you have a lot of work to do if you want to regain that trust. Your actions have been shameful, and I hope that you take time to reevaluate how you respond to these incidents in the future.
That was the last of our delegates and individuals. Our next order of business is the student representative. Chris, do we have a statement or?
I'm sorry, I didn't even see. I'm sorry. This is a horrible seat as far as seeing people.
All right.
Welcome.
Hello. Before I begin tonight, I'd like to personally thank all of the school administrators that were able to get back to me and send me reports from every single school in the district. So I do have something from every school this week, and I'm very excited to share. So Pollard has had Pollard Pride Month with different days each day. Some themes have included Green Day and Winter Wonderland Day. The Lions Club also attended Pollard this past week to conduct vision screenings, and Pollard would like to give a huge public thank you to the Lions Club for their assistance with this. Pollard is currently collecting hats and mittens to help the high school Key Club. The organizer of this is 5th grade New Hampshire Kid Governor-elect Charlotte Cody, who was recognized at the last board meeting. The French Club has been a huge success, and Pollard students have been learning the French language and culture. This program is run by the High School French Honor Society. A similar club called Seep Spanish will be taking place in the weeks after the return from winter break. At Danville Elementary, first trimester report cards were released to families on Friday, December 10th, 2021. A school-wide winter drive organized by Danville students was completed last week. The students decided to collect gently used coats, hats, gloves, and scarves that will help local families in need. The Danville PTA was able to host a winter holiday shop event at the community center ahead of the holidays. 30 students signed up for a ski club that will begin after the new year. TLC at Sandown Central would like to report that last Friday evening, the PTA sponsored a virtual viewing of the Polar Express, where each student was given a bag that contained hot cocoa, coloring sheets, a golden train ticket, and a bell. Many families enjoyed participating. In addition, TLC students are busy making holiday cards for Oceanside Center, a long-term care facility in Hampton, New Hampshire. These will be delivered next week. Kindergarten students are currently working on a Traveling the World unit where they will be visiting countries such as Germany, Sweden, Mexico, India, Italy, and Israel to learn about holiday celebrations across the globe. Kindergarten students will also be participating in a safely distanced sing-along next week, and the entire school will end December with a school-wide pajama day on the 22nd. Atkinson Academy has supported the local community through very successful holiday drives, one for food and one for socks. Atkinson would like to recognize their local families who are amazing in their generosity and support of others. For the next few days, Atkinson students and staff will participate in holiday cheer days with daily themes such as Crazy Hair Day, Flannel Day, Ugly Sweater Day, and Pajama Day. Sandown North Librarian Laura Ross and Assistant Principal Meg Wansi are currently working with the High School English Honor Society students and advisors to create story walks for the school. The first book, Wind May Blow, was set up last month in stations outside around the building. The group also came up with activities to do surrounding the book at each station and afterward. Classrooms have had the chance to get outside to read the story during the day. The walk is accessible to families after school hours and on the weekends. Through fundraising endeavors, Mrs. Ross is looking to bring permanent story walk displays to the school. Sandown North would similarly like to thank the PTA for the virtual viewing of the Polar Express that was also accessible to their students. They would also like to encourage the community to check out the Sandown PTA Facebook to see lots of pictures of their students getting into the spirit of holiday from home. This past month, the Timberland players held auditions for their winter play, Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, as well as held auditions for their spring musical production, Spamalot, this week. The Art Honor Society had their unveiling ceremony this past weekend, and you will soon see student paintings highlighting elements of art hanging throughout the Performing Arts Center. The athletic department and student body would love to highlight just how proud they are of their football team for their incredible season this year. Mr. Fantasia and the athletic department would also like to acknowledge TRHS soccer player Isabella Keogh. Bella Keogh earned All-State, All-New England, and All-American team honors. Her twin sister Sophia has similarly made All-State team too. The winter sports season is underway, and most teams have begun competitions this week. Student athletes are looking forward to a very safe and healthy season. In regards to the variety of growing concerns recently associated with social media, including rumors, vandalism, and inappropriate behavior, I would like to personally acknowledge that I myself, as well as a variety of other student leaders, are working on enforcing social media as an outlet for positivity and encouraging students not to share rumored information across media platforms by any means. Rather, students are being encouraged to go to administration or a trusted adult upon seeing any questionable information or anything on a media platform that makes them feel unsafe. This is a difficult and hefty task to take on, but little by little, more student awareness is being brought to the misuse of media platforms. I would like to personally encourage members of the district community to share this advice with their families and students, thus to prevent as much rumor as possible. As the student council president and board representative, I will personally be working with my vice president and public relations officer over the winter break to continue this advocacy upon return. In regards to several issues surrounding the bathrooms at school, I would like to publicly issue a sincere apology on behalf of the TRHS student body. Though these actions have been done by a small percentage of students, it is a great disservice to the administration and custodial staff that works incredibly hard to provide students with a safe and clean school environment. Myself, along with several other student leaders, have been sufficiently disappointed with the repetition of these destructive actions and are working towards means of encouraging better behavior among our peers. Again, to the administration and staff of Timberlane and district staff and the school board, the student body recognizes your hard work, and we appreciate constant efforts to provide a safe learning environment. As always, I would like to thank the TRSB school board and district administration for the opportunity to speak on behalf of my fellow students tonight. I would like to wish everyone a great end to the year and a wonderful start to the next.
Thank you very much, and again, my apologies. I sincerely cannot see you down there unless they all lean back, so. Moving on, the next order of business under our current business would be the school goals presentations. And I believe we're starting with Atkinson Academy. Principal Stephen Harris. You're up. Hello.
Okay.
There you go.
Greetings, everyone. Where this is my first time speaking, I'll introduce myself. I'm Steve Harris, principal at Atkinson Academy, and this is my 17th year opening a school and in the middle of our school year here. I have come to the understanding that Atkinson, because it begins with the letter A, may always go first for these. So as we're going through, and I have a few notes that I wrote down here, the 5 elementary school goals, or the 5 elementary schools have very similar goals building to building. So it may be beneficial as we're going through these to kind of hold off on questions until we get towards the end, just for that matter, because there are so many similarities. In regards to the first couple of goals that we have, if you could move the slide forward, thank you. The first couple of goals deal with our math and reading. And due to this being our first year using the iReady assessment platform, the Academy is going to be focusing in on student proficiency this year. In upcoming years, we'll have more longitudinal data and we'll be able to look at student growth data as well. And those are things that I want to be looking at as the years move forward. In math, our goal is by June to have 90% or more of our students grade K to 5 be at or above grade level in iReady math proficiency, and that holds true for reading proficiency as well. So we're looking for that 90% target. As we are starting this year, iReady was given in September, and with our baseline data is in the 80s. So this is a goal that is achievable, and I think one that's important for us to kind of get to. I'm happy that our data is starting where it is. I feel that that's a great starting point for us, and I want to grow that and really focus in on doing what's best for students. Overall, I mean, the data gives us not only school-level data, it gives us grade-level data, it gives us classroom-level data, and it gives us student-level data. So it allows us to drill in so that we can really work to build those supports for each individual classroom, student, grade level, et cetera. So that's our first two goals. Our next goal deals with student choice. And basically, by June of 2022, students will grow in their ability to make choice by understanding themselves, and that's self-management, self-reflection, and self-assessment, as measured by both walkthrough data and student staff reflection. And in looking at this is a little bit of a different goal. It's not so much you're going to see the statistics go up. It's more of we're going to be working to collect data as the year goes on through different walkthroughs that I do, as well as our assistant principal, and kind of tallying data. We're going to use the work of Mike Anderson, a consultant that the district has been working with. We're going to use data for that, or a form for that, or from Mike, that is, to help us gather that data and see that we're getting some meaningful growth. The other thing that we're going to be doing is taking a look, along with our guidance staff, at kind of the review of student self-management and behavior data. Are we seeing a reduction in any issues that we might be having throughout the year? And how we're working at that. And then towards the end of the year, we're looking forward to doing kind of an informal, like anecdotal collection of data from our staff to get that meaningful feedback from them as well. Are they seeing this and feeling that growth? So those are the main goals that we have for the school year, along with surviving.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next presentation will be from Danville School Principal Christopher Snyder.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Chris Snyder. I thought maybe, I know Atkinson goes first because they start with the letter A. I thought maybe they were making me go second just because I'm also new, like Mr. Harris is. Like Steve just mentioned, our goals at the elementary level are going to have some very similar themes. So if we want to look at the first two that we have identified at Danville, very similar goal, a different percentage, and that's based on, again, iReady proficiency measures in math and reading. So by June, we're looking for 80% of our students to be at or above grade level in kindergarten through 5th grade. The number 80, or the percentage, was derived based on our baseline scores. We're somewhere in the 70% range right now based on iReady. It's a new platform for us. So we're going to continue to learn about that, use that, and hopefully we'll see our math and our reading scores reach that 80% or above for our students. The next goal that we have, our third goal, deals more with just how students are demonstrating what we would call respectful behaviors, things that we need to model, quite frankly, at the elementary school quite a bit, especially with our new kiddos who are joining school for the first time or maybe haven't been in school or in a school environment consistently the last couple of years. So our team that we have at school has identified a number of monthly themes that we're going to focus on, and the idea is that we're going to do some explicit teaching during morning meeting times and other times throughout the day with our students, and then hopefully they will identify or be able to identify what that is that we're working on and then apply that across multiple settings. So not just in the classroom, but in the hallway, in the cafeteria, specials and things like that. So we're developing and implementing a very basic assessment tool that we can use for our students. There's one that will be for the younger kids, K through 2, and a separate one for students 3 through 5. We will be using to gather some data to see how the students are internalizing this. And like Mr. Harris has referenced, we're looking at other data about office referrals, behavioral, things. We're hoping to see a decline in the number of students who are being referred for things like that as the year goes on. So we have multiple measures to look at achieving this goal as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next will be Pollard School, Principal Douglas Blake.
Hello, I'm Doug Blake. I'm proud principal of Pollard School. I love alliteration, so we had to add that proud Pollard principal. As you're going to see, our goals are very much the same. Pollard did have a little bit of a shift in our math goals, simply because Mr. Pelletier, the assistant principal, and myself have realized that our math scores have kind of been stagnant for the past several years. So we're trying something new this year. One of the things that we really want to look at is look at those domains and look at the Common Core state standards and break those apart. It's a little tricky to use that data at the beginning of the year because these are truly end of the year standards. And so also the standards are, the number of standards is based on grade level. So our kindergarten students have 6 standards. Our 5th graders have 2, which makes perfect sense because of the learning progressions that they go through. But we're going to spend a lot of time looking at our geometry standards, really diving deep and making sure that all of our kids really get those foundational skills in geometry. And then our hope is if we'll see some really great growth in that area, and then we'll look at some of those other domains in the years to come, because we're really trying to come up with a longer mathematical plan, I guess, for Pollard School because we are saying we need to move forward. On our math goal, which is very similar to Danville and Atkinson's, we did add one other thing. We added, on our other math goal, we added really looking at that growth data for each of our kids. Mr. Pelletier and I are really kind of data geeks a little bit, so we're kind of excited that next summer we'll be looking at the data for 480 kids and really diving deep, making sure that they're not only making those gains as a school, but making those gains individually, which is certainly just as important. If you go ahead, our literacy goal is the same. We again want to get to that 80%. We want to dive deeply into that growth percentage rate for each of our kids so we can make sure all 480 of our kids are making that year's growth. We did not add like a social, emotional, or cultural goal because individually, Mr. Pelletier and I have goals, personal goals, that are tied to that. We felt this year that working on cultural goals of our own and really supporting our staff is where we need to be for Pollard School, and then pushing that forward in the future. So thank you for your time, and have a lovely evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be TLC at Sandown Central, and that will be Principal Patrice Leff.
Good evening. Thank you for having us tonight. TLC, you'll see if you shift ahead to our first slide. Our focused goals this year are in the area of literacy. And to write one goal for TLC is virtually impossible because when you have 3 age levels with various developmental needs, we had to work to meet all of those age levels. Our first goal that I want to read is actually the second goal up there, which is a pre-K reading goal. So our work is to really lay the foundation for future reading development. And in doing that, we will be teaching in the area of phonemic awareness, and we will measure the growth based on the performance scores of a 4 or a 5 on the Haggerty Phonemic Awareness Screener. The lowest score you can get is a 0, the highest score you could get is a 5, and a 4 is really good. And a 3 isn't so bad either, but we are hoping to get, 75% of our children in the area of really ready to read by kindergarten. And you'll see that our team decided not to use iReady as the assessment measurement, yet we went a different route in using the Fountas and Pinnell benchmark assessment for kindergarten. This will really tell us, benchmark assessment is a very deep assessment. The students have not taken it yet because they are at this point considered pre-reading still. We're still teaching those really good pre-reading skills. But we do take that assessment for the first time in January. It is a pretty lengthy assessment because you have to figure out where the student really is to begin to teach the real skills of reading. So it is our hope and our goal to have 75% of the kindergarten students at TLC reading at a level C in the Fountas and Pinnell benchmark assessment, where is that is a national level. So it's a nationally normed test, and a level C is where you want all kindergarten students to be reading at the end of a school year. And if you go to the second slide, our second goal is a student choice goal. It's also a social and emotional learning goal. So at TLC, with the very youngest of our students, we are teaching them how to learn to be good friends, how to be good neighbors, how to share, how to make good choices. And we teach them that through structured and unstructured play choices. The play at TLC is linked to state standards. It's linked to our curriculum. So, and it's also choice. So children can go through play times each week, choosing various aspects. And it's amazing how that transfers over into academic subjects. So our students will be able to learn how to appropriately express emotions, demonstrate independence, and strengthen relationships by working respectfully with others through explorative and structured play opportunities that encourage student choice. And the ongoing evidence will be gathered by the teachers. This is gathered every day in qualitative measures. It's really the best way to measure if a child is learning those skills that we want them to. Thank you.
Thank you. And last for the elementaries will be Sandown North Principal Nancy Stafford.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Thanks for having us. We're, as Steve mentioned, and me going last, a lot of our goals are quite similar. And I just wanted to start with, we have our academic goals around math and reading as well. And we're looking at an 80% of grades 1 through 5 students to be at or above grade level in both areas of iReady Math and iReady Reading. Our teachers are working really hard in terms of providing interventions and what students need. And in their PLCs, working together, looking at data, looking at, Doug mentioned with the iReady, we can really dig a little deeper and see what individual kiddos are needing, and then providing them with those appropriate interventions to support that. We're also really encouraging some colleague visits. I'll be honest, it's hard this year, just in terms of coverage, but we have some new staff that have a lot to bring and share, either from their prior schools or, even as first-year teachers. And we also have a very veteran staff who are eager to share and be wonderful mentors. So I feel so fortunate in that way. In regards to our other goal, it's around culture and climate, and I did mean to start off by mentioning this is Sandown North's 20th year. I've been in the district for 21 years, and what we've seen is that it's year 17 that we've been a PBIS school, Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports, and that's really kind of shifted over the years, and you've heard the other principals mentioning as well about the social emotional learning. I feel really fortunate that we've been doing so much of this work ahead of in the past several years, so that it's really helped our staff and I believe our students and families as well, in particular with dealing what we've all been doing dealing with in the past couple of years. But that being said, We also, this being our 20th year, what I had talked with with our staff is we've had the same mission statement for a really long time. And so we've been working as a school community and getting input from our students as well to change our mission so that it's a little more reflective of where we are and where we're going to. So we are, for our social, emotional, and culture and climate goal, we really want to maintain that positive and equitable learning environment for our students and our families. We've been holding for the past few years coffee and conversations with parents and have gotten, Mrs. Guanci and I met at the beginning of the year and talked with parents who we were able to meet outside under our tent. And they shared that they really want our students to continue to be able to have leadership, especially our older kiddos, leadership opportunities, and also, the importance of that communication piece. So we shared with them about our new mission statement and our vision and got some input from them. I'm happy to report that we do have a new STAR Council of students. They're helping us with our school behavioral expectations. And as other folks mentioned here, our work with Mike Anderson has really been focused on student choice and student voice. And so we're trying to keep that at the forefront of everything we're doing. And that PD has been very helpful for our staff. So let's see, I'm turning it over to Mr. Mensis.
Actually, before we go to Mr. Mensis, is there any questions for elementary before we move forward? I'll keep you all on the spot right there, so. Barbara?
It's not really a question. I'm just very thankful that the principals answered my questions before I asked them. I really like that the elementary principals are all aligned on focusing on reading and math. Just thank you for being here this week and last week and for the nice, concise presentations.
Steve?
Thank you. I would echo that sentiment, and thank you all for being here and doing an incredible job. So just a question on the assessments. As you guys are doing the assessments, are you looking, it sounds like a lot of this data will come in towards the end of the year. Are you looking at the next year, in particular with kindergarten, so how well they're doing in first grade to sort of track and compare those assessments with what you've already gathered with that data? Great, thank you. See, easy, right? Quick and easy. All right, thank you, appreciate it.
Anything else? So if not, now we'll hand it over to Mitch Mensis, the middle school principal.
Good evening, everybody. Appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. Similar to a handful of new principals to see before you, I figured I'd take a moment just to introduce myself and share a couple background tidbits about myself. So again, Mitch Mensis. I actually attended Sandown Central a couple of moons ago. Also attended TRMS myself back in the day and was a proud graduate of the class of 2001 from the high school. After going off to college, I came back and worked at the high school for a while until they told me they found a home for me at the middle school, and I've been there ever since. As you can imagine, I take a ton of pride in working to continue to improve upon a great education that I received from this district, and I'm really just passionate about paying that forward to our current students and the ones who will keep on coming through here. As for the goals, the first one, similar to elementary schools as well, is going to be focused on GMS students showing academic progress as measured by 75% of the students performing at or above grade level in math, as well as the same for reading in the iReady Spring benchmark assessment. This is actually a pretty bold goal for us because, obviously COVID has impacted our education quite a bit. So for us to reach 75%, that on the reading and math side, that could range from an improvement range anywhere from 12 to 25%. So we have a lot of work ahead of us. However, before the school year began, we knew that this was going to be ahead of us. So through a lot of work with the staff and especially a ton of work from Mark Pedersen, we created a win block, or what I need, and we set that up for trimester 2. So based on teacher input as well as the iReady data from the initial assessment, we have over 200 students who had their entire schedules reworked by hand to give them some additional support. And through your support as well, because you allowed us to hire an additional math interventionist. So we've put a ton of effort in place, which is now underway in trimester 2, to help support kids to help us reach that goal. The next goal, which might be coming up shortly, there we go, thank you, is TRMS will continue to cultivate a positive learning climate and increase levels of support and communication with all stakeholders as measured by weekly social media posts and other proactive and regular communication methods. For this one, I think the entire district is on this page, and I don't want to steal any of Principal John Backray's thunder, but high school, middle school are very much as a secondary unit working on a social media blitz campaign where there are great things happening in our schools. And as we have heard about tonight, spoken about, social media can be a place for good or bad things, but we're really focused on letting everybody know about the amazing things that are happening in our school every day. So if you see a real conscious effort out there of the positive things, we'll take all the likes, we'll take any positive comments, because there are great things happening from our teachers and with our students every day, and we want everyone to know about them. In addition to that, we're working on the creation of a social and culture climate committee that will be represented by all stakeholders, so we can continue to get good ideas, brainstorm ideas to improve what we already believe to be a good culture, but keep that kind of force going, because that's one of the things that makes everybody love coming to school every day. And our final goal is TRMS to increase the implementation of student choice, student voice, and SEL, or social emotional learning, in instructional practices as measured by walkthrough data and observations. So we believe a lot of these practices are already what we have in place, but the teachers thrive on having more individualized PD opportunities where they have a voice in it, as well as not just prescribing them, this is what you should be working on. So as an example, we had Mike Anderson, which multiple of us have already spoken about, come and do some trainings, and the teachers have taken those opportunities and said, you know what, I think we could do some more things like that, and with their own spin on it, and we want to continue to support those kind of initiatives. So that wraps up my 3 goals. I just want to say thanks again for the opportunity to speak, and open to any questions.
Sean?
And not just, I know it's your first year, Mr. Menace, in this role, but the numbers is just, it's sort of, I'm trying to see a general trend here. We started out with Atkinson Academy. It started out at 90%. Everybody else was 80. We're 75, and I'm even afraid to go to the next slide, which is going to be the high school, and see where that sits. It's going down this way. How do we get the trajectory? And it's not just you, it's everybody. How do we get the trajectory going up? I mean, me personally, I would like to see, how do we get Timberlane to be just an average school? We're always average. We've been average since the 60s. How do we get Timberlane into the top 10 of the state? Those are the questions I'd like to ask, and I would say that it starts with attitudes and internal reflection on how do you get there. That's going to be how we're going to get there. And I'm asking, the experts in the field, how do we get there? What are your limitations? And I'm not expecting it right now, but somewhere in the future, we got to have this conversation, with a dialogue with our administrators, our teachers, even the students.
Sure. Do you want, I can give you some thoughts? Definitely, that's a pretty broad question.
It's a loaded question, but it has a lot of content to it.
Absolutely. No, and there's a number of people who can speak to that here. There's no chance that I'm going to have all those answers, but just my initial reaction to that is one of the things that I will say bothers me about looking at our goals, which they are, especially with iReady, is that it's only math and reading. And as much as I am passionate as a former math teacher as well about that particular content, there's a lot that goes into our academic achievements across the board, across all content areas. But those happen to be the 2 areas that we are measured by. So to that particular point, though, things like creating a win block where we know is an area of, or for reading and math where we know is an area of need, it's putting in programs in place, anticipating that kind of need, which is what we've done right now, so that we can give students more support for the areas that they need help in. And initially, there was some thought of, ooh, how are we going to work with this? How are they going to react to that? But once the students realized that it wasn't a bad thing to be getting additional support, they're really answering the call and working really hard in those classes because they said, oh, you're trying to help us to be prepared for the future. So again, to your point, it's recognizing where some of our areas of weakness may be and then making an actual plan to do something about it. So I think that's one of our first steps. But I really don't want to glaze over the part that math and reading isn't all the things that happen in school. So I respect where you're coming from because I saw the 90% at the elementary school and said, ooh, that's a very high number, no doubt about it. And I had a lower number, but our goal is to show tremendous growth in this area, and I think that's what you're going to see this year.
What would your number now for the iReady for the current year, or the last year that was done? And I know that was done under you, but where's your baseline right now?
So we didn't have iReady at the middle school level last year. We didn't use it. So all I can tell you is where we're starting from in the reading side is an average of about 60 on the reading side. On the math side, it's a pretty wide range, around 57. So we're looking for, it's a bold goal to get to 75 where we are right now. And a lot of that could be contributed to the COVID experience that we've had to live through and knowing that kids need some help catching up some of those skills that were affected during that time.
You guys got me? Thank you. I'm going to give you a very oversimplified answer, Mr. O'Neill, and happy to speak at length about it in another forum. Don't want to take up too much time, but it should sound familiar. Commitment. That's what it's going to take. Anything that anybody has done with greatness or that any group does with greatness requires extensive commitments across all domains in order to succeed at a high level. And that's what it's going to take across the domains.
Steve?
Just a really quick question, and you guys might not know the answer to this, but across the board, have you guys, and ladies obviously, been able to really understand the impact of what last year brought in regards to reading and math? And you don't have to talk about it now, but I think that's sort of the context, right? Is that you guys are presenting numbers, and whether they're low or high, it's really I think important for us and parents and really everybody to look at the context behind it and the impact that the last year had, particularly from a remote standpoint. And I don't know if any of you want to talk about that, but sort of your experience on what you've noticed, in the beginning of this year because of last year. Sorry.
I can speak to your first part unless someone wants to jump in. Just the one thing I want to mention when you say something that we notice has a difference at the beginning of the year is how excited everyone is to be back in school. So as you can imagine, it's hard to begin the learning process if you don't feel comfortable. So while masks aren't our favorite thing to wear, we talk to kids about we're so happy being together, this is why we're willing to do it. And that's really the first step in the learning process is they need to be in a mental space where they are ready to begin that work. So the beginning of the school year, I think for all of us, I must speak for all of us, but is to just get everyone back in, feeling comfortable as part of that social, emotional learning process. And now that I feel is relatively in place, we're feeling good about being there, is now we're really getting to work with the kids, getting the learning going.
Great, thank you.
Fair?
Sheila?
I didn't do this, but quick question. When did we get iReady? Last year in January. And it was Star what app before that? It was just Star. Okay. So when you guys all talked about iReady, I'm sitting here glazing over going, what are you talking about? Because last time I knew we had Star assessments. No, it's okay, I'm just asking.
A review of iReady
All right.
because it's
No.
built an assessment system in and instructional
No,
system.
it's all good because I just wanted to understand that we're replacing
Okay.
the stuff from Star to iReady. See, I know what Star is, so I'm good. So now when we do iReady, again, for all of you, It'll be at June? Okay, so we're gonna do all of this in January. Everybody's gonna get tested on reading and math, right? Okay. So when you come to see us, well, I won't be here. Thank you. I won't be here. But when you come to see the next board and give your answers, you will have concrete stuff for the next board to say, okay, well, yeah, great. We really wanted to be at 80, but we made it to 75. Am I correct? Okay. So maybe we should put that on the agenda for a year from now to make sure that we see if there is, if somebody could remember who's going to be here.
So when would you have that information, though? I mean, if you're doing the testing in January, when would you be comfortable? Okay.
So I would say probably by October, November of next year, you're going to have a good idea if you were able to move from January to June, correct? Am I asking too much? I'm just...
No, not at all.
No, I mean, with that, I'm just...
I'm asking them if I'm
The
asking...
whole team is talking about our goal is for the springtime. So, correct, we'll be taking it in January, see where we're at, make adjustments based on the need and the results, and then the springtime assessment is the one that our goals are all built on.
Right, so my suggestion is October of next year, November of next year, you all come back and see how we did, but, everybody's got to give it a grace because of the year of COVID.
Right. Well, and just following that up, usually our school goal presentations are done much earlier than now, and that is included information, so just so the way that this year has gone, unfortunately, the presentations are later this year, so.
And I wanted to do that now before Mr. Vacaresa came up because really he doesn't have this stuff, so.
No. So what we can do is just make sure that next year, whoever the board is can make sure that the school board goal presentations get put on October-ish.
That's all.
When they would normally be done. Yep, absolutely, Shelley, I agree. Like I said, we're kind of a little bit behind in our scheduling this year, so. Is there anything else for Mr. Mensis in the middle school?
No.
Okay, if not, we will thank you, Mitch, and we'll move on to Mr. Vacaresa in the high school.
Good evening, everybody. I'd just like to, real quick, address a couple things. One of the things I would like to say is I'd like to thank the students this week. I'd like to thank the staff this week and really everybody who's kind of endeared with a lot of difficult situations. But I can tell you that they were in their classrooms trying to work with kids, trying to be there for kids, trying to talk to kids. We might, not might, we do need to improve. Okay, and we heard a lot of harsh comments tonight, but the key is, we do need to improve. We need to up the expectations for ourselves. And the grand shame of everything is if we don't learn from our mistakes. So that's what we were looking to do, but I do want to make that shout out to that, how much the staff and really the students were relying on each other at different times this week, and I give them a lot of credit for that, because it's not always easy to do that. And with a flurry of different stuff being said, it can be even more difficult. So sometimes we do need some positivity, which we'll talk about the goals that we as a school have, but that's one of those things. And I will definitely, Mr. O'Neill will give a little bit of an explanation about how I believe we can get to an elite school as well, which is a district. Okay? Thank you. So the first goal that we will be looking at is the improvement when you're talking reading and writing across the curriculum is measured by a 3% above state average on the SAT. One of the points that'll come up is the SATs is really the one way you can assess high school students. There's no iReady, there's the pay SAT is not for everybody. The SAT is a mandatory test. Therefore, you can use that as data. The problem is you're doing growth compared to someone else. Okay? So that's a really difficult number to work with. So what do? Look at our baseline that we can use. In the fall last year, we had our seniors take the SATs. Compared to state average, we were 5% lower than the state average at that time. In the spring, our juniors took the SATs again. They were 10% above the state average. So in two different classes, you have one that went above, one that went below. Okay? We looked at 3% for a number of reasons. One of the reasons we in the past utilized Khan Academy. Khan Academy is not something that we're going to be able to utilize as much at the same level because there's a non-disclosure agreements and it's not signed, so we have to be careful on that. We can't use it. Khan Academy is directly linked to utilizing it at the College Board. So that's one thing that would be an issue. What we are looking at, though, is what we can do to improve the scores. Social studies, math, science, and English all focus in January, February, and March as a push to utilize reading and writing in their classes and to utilize that so that it links with how the SAT's expectations are. Therefore, that's a push we do. The math teachers will also be working to push the math scores on an SAT level because curriculums are not determined by an SAT. Curriculums are determined by their districts. So sometimes things don't always line up. We do an extra push. We will be doing an extra push. This will be done with the curriculum coordinators and the teachers with the students. So that's how we came to that particular goal. The second goal is TRHS will continue to improve competency-based educational practices as measured by the implementation of performance assessments, common competency rubrics, assessment maps, and secondary hybrid report card, which reflects traditional grades and competency scores for all students. In a pure competency system, you have no traditional grades. In a traditional grade system, that does not rely on competencies. We are a blend. So we're putting two things together, okay? So what we are doing is we're having the teachers utilize one or a whole rubric involved on the midterms and final exams. That's almost forcing it into the curriculum that they have to utilize that. And so we're putting it into the midterms, the finals. Then it gets embedded into more of the regular practices within a classroom. So as they embrace this, as we push this, you get more of that into your classroom. There's also a lot of discussions around support for using the competency and rubric language in detailed instruction and assessment. If you're using all the language that students are graded on, it becomes ingrained to them, they understand the language, it becomes natural to the education. So we're doing a push on that. We're going to look to prove which strategies and tools do that the best. And this work is being done a lot with our curriculum coordinator and the CIAs. So that's where that's coming about. Okay? And then the third question, or the third part is we're looking to improve the culture and climate to ensure a safe and supportive learning environment for students as measured in the implementation of now proactive communication measures, social emotional learning initiatives, and the creation of school-wide climate committee. So here's what we have mapped out and planned, a couple of them. This year there will be 40 principal emails that get sent out. Every Thursday night I send out an email to the staff looking forward, let them know what's going on. We always share some good news or positivity with the staff, try to let them see that there are some incredible things going on. They also share information with us so that we can recognize each other or something they're very proud of. Sometimes they'll say, my class did this incredible project in biology. Well, that's not when we put into the principal's email. What we do is we go to the class and say, your teacher recognized you for this. That has a lot of meaning for students, even at the high school level. A good attaboy or way to go girl is incredible for getting to the next stage, and we're very proud of our students when we do that. So that's something we've implemented. We do every single day, we have our OWLS news that we report to the students. We have 10 OWLS in staff meetings. Those are the OWL awards that, what we're talking about is core values of the high school, and we share them with teachers who are personifying that. There's going to be 10 social climate committee meetings, and they are running 3 events. They were instrumental in working and making sure we had a spirit week this year, and not losing certain traditions. We don't want the seniors ever lose their togas, okay? So those are some of the things they're looking at, and they really pushed that and found a way to do something during a pandemic that not every place can do by holding a pep rally, albeit outside, they did it. And, we'll have 5 principals newsletters that go out, and we are currently working on building, and it's very small right now, a small SEL committee to work with students, get a view of what they see is the climate of what's out there, and then we're going to share and do a little staff development around that. So that's our goals, and that's what we're looking at. And one of the things, I firmly believe, Mr. O'Neill, you asked the question before, I think the number one thing we can do to truly improve it, but it can't be in name, it has to be embraced and in practice, and I say this a lot, you have to hold high expectations for everybody. Because whether you put expectations high or low, people are going to meet them. Okay? And so, whether it's how we handle ourselves, whether it's what we think students can do, whether it's, what the support from the board, whether it's telling students what they can do and students believing it. When you truly hold high expectations as an entire district and say, this is what we can be, the buy-in takes time. But success breeds more success, but you've got to hold yourself, well, not yourself, but us as a whole, at high expectations. Any questions?
Are there any questions, Mr.
Yeah.
Bauer?
Could you just repeat I love statistics. What was the percent below on the SATs for the seniors and the percent above for the juniors?
Sure, no problem on that. So for September 2020, that would have been the seniors last year, we were 5% below. Okay? And then for the juniors, or now the seniors this year, they took it in March, okay, they were 10% above.
That's lovely, thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Becker? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Our next order of business is the budget and the default budget.
Go home.
Yeah.
Our principals?
Yes, our principals, yes.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for coming.
Happy holidays. Yes.
Happy holidays. I just wanted them to run while they could. Well, I know, but they're all kind of looking at us like, are we done?
Okay, and again, the next order of business is the budget and the default budget, and Dean, Maria, there we go, thank you. Maria is joining us through Zoom tonight. So welcome, Maria.
I love that picture of her.
Can we hear, just testing, Maria, I just want to make sure we can hear Maria and she can hear us before we start. That sounds like my house.
She can hear us. Can we hear you?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go. Hi, Maria.
Hi.
All right, so we are on to the budget and the default budget. I'm assuming you're making the presentation on the budget, correct? Yes, no? Did we lose her again?
Isn't the only difference the position?
You got like frozen, sorry. I lost connection.
Are you going to speak on the budget and the default budget for us?
Yes, so this year we are, as we discussed in a prior meeting, the default budget is a total of 76,300,383. That's the total for the default budget. And after the presentation of all the directors and principals to the budget committee, and the last budget committee meeting where they discussed the budget and adjust the proposed budget. They also include the position at the high school for the assistant principal that the school board had approved last meeting. The final proposed budget amount that they are moving forward is 75,753,607. So we have, those are the two numbers for the two budgets this year.
Maria, can you just give me the default budget number one more time?
Yes, 76,300,383.
Okay. Sean, I know you were working with the budget committee. Is there anything that you want to add or tell us about specifically, or what your thoughts are, or where
Well, I do agree that, the number that Maria brought forward is what the budget committee had approved. That included the extra 100,000 salary and 30K in benefits, which brought it up to that number. The board, being the budget committee, adopted that. I told them that until we discuss this or did anything here at this board, I don't know what the position is of this board, so I was going to be abstaining from that vote. Not that I didn't support it or criticized it, it's just, we haven't had a chance to talk about it, so.
Okay.
I know I would like to actually, see two motions out of here. One is this board adopting a default budget and this board also adopting an operating budget.
Agreed. So are there any questions or discussion or anything from Maria or Sean, or does anyone want to proceed with a motion, or Sheila?
Is there anything that you saw here, Sean, that you thought, is this pretty? You get what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, was there anything that was?
Jumped out at me?
Yeah.
It's just the names, the big drivers in here are salaries, benefits.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And, we got the CDAs that are going to be on there as part of
Well,
articles.
that will be added to this number.
No, it would be additive, of course. But those salaries are the same as they are currently in this budget because there's no cost added because it's all part of the CDA.
Right.
For the respective union that's going to be present, so.
Understood.
So Sean, did you get a chance to see my comments from before? My comments and questions?
Yep, which one?
So there were a bunch, but there were several items that have traditionally been over budgeted and underspent. And I was just wondering what some of them were. There's the PAC getting $77,000 or something, when it's traditionally used much less. There were several.
So if I might speak to that.
Yeah, go ahead, Maria.
Sorry.
That's okay.
The PAC, usually the way the PAC operates is they bring on a regular year, they will bring in revenue for the functions that they have throughout the year. So pretty much the way it has been working is they offset the cost. It's just a little variance that it has that doesn't get offset, but they offset the cost with the revenue that they bring in. So that $77,000 is more like a contingency fund for the operations of the PAC, but it really gets offset by the revenue that they bring in.
It's kind of an investment.
Yes, yeah, it's just a contingency fund that supports the operations throughout the year while the revenue is collected throughout the year when the functions are done.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sorry you just got the questions earlier today. Were there any that you were able to?
I did. I just sent you the response to all of them.
Okay.
To that I'm waiting for response, but all of them had been responded.
Okay, I'll be looking at my phone.
Sheila?
That we go through every year at budget season that always kind of throws me for a loop is special education, of course, because it usually is $1 million, $1.5 million. It goes up that every year. Maria, I'm only seeing you going up about $100,000 here, so should I panic?
Maria, did you hear that question?
No, I'm sorry. It got delayed again.
I'm
Say
sorry.
that again.
I heard it.
Chris Kellen heard it, and it's about special education, Maria.
And Kelly Brooks is here as well.
Hi, Kelly.
And so the Budget Committee did ask that very same question. We had a couple of conversations about it. They were subject to my lengthy responses to their questions as well.
You're the expert. You guys are the gurus here. I'm not. All I know is that for the last years, we've been seeing $1 million where we've overspent the line, and I just want to make, it's one of those things that's always.
Yeah, no, we went through it pretty extensively. I think one of the things is you are in a time right now where you have a lot of kids that are leaving or aging out, and that's probably one of the things that has happened. We just happen to be in a lull. Not that we don't need to do a lot of things to take care of it, but yeah. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
You'd like me to spend more money.
Several students that moved out as well. Contracted services that we've done a little bit of reorganizing in how those things are paid for as far as following the students a little bit differently from the financial end of things. It doesn't change the number from going up or down all that much, but we did move some things around in the budget.
It's not breaking my heart. I just want to make sure that we.
Yeah, some negotiating too. What I did learn is that we can actually negotiate a lot in our contracts instead of accepting what they're asking us to pay. So
Okay. That was one of the biggies for me.
Yep.
Looking at this,
And in other areas, we did see, the inflation take hold as far as,
Of course.
The availability of resources, the supply and demand, the basics that we're seeing in all aspects of business across the country right now. And, the reports now are saying inflation's coming, inflation's going to affect even more and more, right? We're going to start to see those interest rates go up next.
Yeah. And the only other thing that I know that we have seen usually in the past that jumps out is transportation and our health insurance, which is usually huge.
Yes, this year the health insurance increase is $655,000. That is based in the assumption that is a 6.2% increase, which is the GMR that we got from Health Trust. Now, usually that comes down in the end of January or February when they send us the actual rate.
Right.
But I mean, we have to go with what the GMR is for the budget.
Correct. We can't budget for what could be. We have to budget what they're giving us.
Mm-hmm.
So that alone went up over $500,000, correct?
Yeah, it's a $655,000 increase just on that.
No, I'm just asking the regular old questions that we always get slammed with every new budget. It's, it's not a reflection on anybody, but it's just what happens every year.
And that insurance is the guaranteed maximum that we were given, so that could come in low.
It could come down, and we could end up paying what it is, though. So we can't make assumptions on it.
No. And the transportation, that's a contracted figure. We have the extensions on those two contracts with both Durham and per student.
But they usually go up every year, correct? Right.
$5,000,007 compared to last year was $75,000,004. That's really not a.
Not bad.
Oh, no. You're missing $2 million in warrant articles. That's what you're missing. So what we heard earlier about this board not working with people, what we're trying to put in front of people is a couple $1 million.
Well, yeah, it will be in warrant articles with unions. It's going to be.
That's what we're trying to do. That's the truth.
It's going to be.
That's what,
Yeah? A year.
Per year.
Per year.
You got it. So that's
Not
what we're
over
trying
3
to do.
years. It will be $2 million.
All the fairy tales.
Per year.
Truths are funny things.
Brian,
for unions.
Can you just explain that?
Okay, let me explain this.
Sorry, appreciate it, just for us.
Okay, so you newbies, what you have,
not in this budget are approximately 400 or 500 employees, because they're part of Warnock's and Union. They were in last year's budget because they were in the operating budget. Union agreements are normally a 3-year agreement. The new unions last year were 1-year agreements. So what this proposed budget, which to the naked eye looks, wow, this is pretty good. You're only up 300, well, no, you're missing approximately $2 million, maybe higher.
That will be in separate warrant articles.
Warrant articles. And that's the reality.
So the reality is, it's just like when you were on.
Which is what the board's going to recommend, the evil school board's going to recommend, contrary to, I think when I get off this board, I think I'm going to spend some time explaining to people what school boards do compared to what they don't do.
Steve, it's almost like when we do it at the town ballot, and you turn around and you say, oh, well, it's only going to be 2 cents for fireworks.
Right.
For Old Home Days, it's going to add 5 cents for Old Home Days. And all of those add up, and it ended up being $1.45.
Right.
Same idea. You're still going to spend $75 million. But now you're going to add on $2 million a year, approximately. So next year, when you do your budget, it automatically starts at $77 million.
And fortunately, Madam
And
Chair,
that's not with any health care going up, or retirement going up, or busing going up, or fuel going up, any of that stuff. You're automatically at $77 million.
and it's good we got that million earlier tonight. It's good this board accepted that tonight, because that would have been on top of this.
Right.
That's real money that you took, which is going to go a long way to improvements around here.
Agreed. Sean?
To the $655K that we have for the 6.2% increase for the health insurance, the GMR, I'd actually like to request that the administration actually poke and prod Health Trust to get that number for the exact, because we generally have, at the town level, also using Health Trust, we know what our numbers are for fiscal year 2022. And this is, the time frame that they're looking to give it to us is the time frame when we might not, it's all predicated on our deliberative session, the February 10th. If we don't know by that date, we can't do anything with that to do that. And I understand the proper budgeting for this, because we don't know. It generally comes in less. We don't know how much less that's going to be. But it would allow us to adjust this so that we can be closer to last year's budget. And then I would also think that what Mr. Boyle had brought on up, when those CBAs get voted on, you're going to look in a better light in the voters' eyes with that than you are at a higher number and still trying to vote yay on respective CBAs. So I would like to ask the administration to make that and put it back on our agenda at our January meeting, because I'd like to see an update on that.
Didn't we do that last year? I think we did that last year.
I think we did that last year, but years prior to that, didn't we always get the answer that it doesn't come out too much? And
Yeah, I think Maria brought it to us last year, so.
I think so too.
So Maria, I'm assuming you're still listening to us, so you understand what Sean's asking?
Yes, when we get the actual rate from Health Trust, we do bring it up and
Yep.
No, I'm asking a
revise.
little bit more than that.
If it is less, that's what we have to. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I was more asking not to wait for them to get it to us, but for us to reach on out and be the.
Squeaky wheel.
Exactly. Because what happened with the squeaky wheel?
Yes, the increase.
You got
And the rate.
Oh, I already asked. I already asked when they will give it to us, and they said it could be as early as mid-January, but as late as mid-February.
Okay, well, I guess what Sean's asking is
It's
that.
mid-February is not acceptable. I'll be blunt. I would like to see that by the end of January.
Well,
It's the only way we're going to be able to get it.
Yeah, well, we can only get
No,
what we
I
can
agree
get to.
that they can, but
But they've already said that they're already working on it, so.
And
So-
Maria knows that we're looking for
There
it,
is
so.
something else that I just was informed last Friday, and is that Health Trust is giving us a refund for last year. I am still waiting to see how much is the total amount that we have to return to the employees, because they have put their contributions, but the total amount that Timberland is getting refunded is $1 million.
Okay.
So I am, a very rough estimate is about $250,000 that we will have to get back to employees for their contributions. So we will have $850,000 to return to taxpayers, if that's the wish of the board.
Amazing. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you, Maria.
Maria, could you please check if you pressed send on that mail to me? Because I haven't seen it yet.
Oh,
Thanks.
I did press send. Let me just resend it.
Thank
So,
you.
Sean, what do we need to do?
We can go through your questions if you want to do that.
No, that's okay.
I can also send that.
Do we need
I
to
can
make a
send
motion
it
to
in
accept these
the
budgets?
Okay.
Right. So we have to make motions to accept.
The operating budget and then also the default budget.
Correct.
All right, Sean, go for it, and then I will, second you. How's that?
Okay, I'd like to, the school board's fiscal year 2023 proposed budget in the amount of $75,753,607.
Second.
Motion by Sean, second by Sheila. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Abstentions? So 700.
Same thing going to be for the default, but I don't have the default number.
I do. 76.
I'll make a motion to, for the default budget to be $76,300,383.
Motion by Brian, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Sheila. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 700.
We did something.
Yay. Thanks, Sheila. Okay, so moving on from the budget, we now have to discuss the annual meeting. We have a draft warrant, and we also have the legal calendar in front of us. And again, this is a very draft version of the warrant, but what we just voted on will be, those numbers will be submitted into Article 2. So,
Okay. And then we have January 11th for CBA warrant articles.
yes, you're jumping, so
I'm sorry.
I'm looking at trying, yeah. Yep, citizens petition articles must be submitted by January 11th. And the public hearing is going to be on Thursday, January 13th, and that will be on the proposed budget. And then deliberative session will be on Thursday, February 10th. And voting on the other. And then, sorry, the district voting is going to be on Tuesday, March 8th at the various locations. Of course, all of this information will be posted and made public. Are there any questions or discussion, Sean?
Where do we stand with the district clerk, that position? Because that's going to be very critical in this process here.
100% correct. District clerk through the deliberative session, if I'm correct?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, the
Through the
district
deliberative
clerk
session, and then that's, yeah. So I don't know if we've had any, have we had any?
Do we have the opening up?
interest? We did post it, yes, it was asked to be posted. Do we know if that was posted yet? We don't.
Hey, Brian, do you think you can get Sharon out of retirement?
Nope.
So we'll follow up on that tomorrow, Sean, to make sure it was posted and get it out and see what we can't do to,
Okay, thank you.
yep. I know this says informational in action, but I really don't see that there's any action we can take on this. Was this a very draft?
version, of course, we have openings in there for the various collective bargaining possibilities, so, and we don't have any information for that at this time, so. I'm not gonna take, go ahead, Brian, yep.
Don't we need action on this calendar? I assume they're looking for us to confirm this, so it can be both adopted?
Yep. So some,
Honestly don't know.
sorry, Chris? Did you?
My understanding was that the chair had asked for the draft to come forward at least, and, you know, although all of the facts and figures aren't.
No, I'm not talking warrant, I'm talking about the calendar.
Yeah, so the warrant is strictly a draft, just to let everyone know what we're looking at and where we're going,
Yes.
but clearly we'll be seeing that again, that's why I don't think we need to take any action on that tonight.
Right.
Under the circumstance, but yes, moving on to the calendar and the dates that we just discussed. And they all seem to meet the state recommendations and guidelines, so with that being said, are we going to approve this? And Brian, that's where you were heading, to make a motion to approve this draft calendar?
Yes, exactly, thank you. I'll make a motion to approve the draft calendar was dated draft 12/8/21, that's in our packets.
Motion by Brian, second by Steve. There's no further discussion, all those in favor? 7 opposed, none, and no abstentions, so 7-0-0, motion passes. Yep.
Two parts in here that I think are really important that the board addressed by adopting this is setting the date for the public hearing. That's now January 13th.
Yep.
And the deliberative session is on the 10th of February. Those are two important dates that get set, and everything else is usually by RSA.
Yep. And then there are snow dates built in, and this will all get posted onto the school website for everyone as well. Moving on, our next order of business is the curriculum, high school program of studies proposal, second read. Mark Pedersen.
Good evening. Just like to update you on some updates from the last time I was here. So I did go through and make changes to name Algebra 3 into probability, statistics, and trigonometry in all places. I believe you've been sent a digital version of the updates. That course has been approved by the NCAA already, so I went through that process to get that approved. The other update I'd like to share with you is the winner of the student design for the cover and the back cover. That was Charlotte Caldwell, class of 24. She's a graphic design student, and so her design is going to be on the front cover, and it loops onto the back cover. And so that will be both the online version will have that, and the printed version will have that. I'd also like to at this time just thank Katie Murphy and Steve Boucher for their work in those two courses that they designed, and then Jan Povek, the curriculum coordinator, who really helped work with the CIAs to bring these changes from each department forward. So those are the changes from the last time I was here. Other than that, if there's any questions on this or on anything in the program of studies, the timeline from here is it does go to the printer. I'll send it to the printer tomorrow. It'll get back from the printer in January, and then students will have that in their hands mid-January as we start the process for both 8th graders moving up and then 9th, 10th, and 11th graders as they move into their next year.
Okay. Thank you.
The one in the packet still says Algebra 3, but there's a more recent version, right?
So there was a more recent version. I believe that I don't know if you got it as a digital version. I know the first round, I was led to believe that you had a digital version of it, but I did send an updated digital version where I changed all the places where it said Algebra 3, I changed to probability, statistics, and trigonometry.
Yeah, it's a little mouthful, but thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to make sure that we didn't sneak back through Algebra 3.
No.
Okay.
Am I on? Thank you for that change of name.
You're welcome.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the second read
Yes.
for the changes to the 22-23 program of studies for this December 2nd, 2021 issue?
No.
No?
No, December 2nd's an older one. Unfortunately, that's what's in our agenda packet, but.
Okay, how about I do this? Let me start that over again. I would like to approve the second read of the program of studies. Make a motion.
Motion by Sheila. Second. Second by Barbara. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Moving on, we now have the TLC early education numbers. And who is speaking to, is this just informational? Lucy. Thank you.
It is just informational, but I can certainly answer questions if you have them.
This is in our agenda packet. Does everyone have it? The executive summary? Dated December 14th. Are there any questions for Lucy? If there are no questions for Lucy, I'm going to say thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll move on to our next item, which is the athletics grant, and I believe Angelo Fantasia is here. Yes.
Good evening, everyone. Just some news and an update. Mr. Kellen and Dr. Cochran will have the ability to submit the application on time. So I'm very happy to tell people that. Very grateful to Maria Watkins and Superintendent, Assistant Superintendent, and I would be Carl Inglesby as well. And I would be remiss if I did not give complete and total credit to my administrative assistant, Jess Susi, who was amazing with all of the inputs. So we have communicated, and I will be meeting with the superintendent tomorrow. You name the time, and you can submit that application. Excuse me?
You need one signature or two?
You have the online application. It is going to be completely filled, and you'll get to hit send, and you can just let me know when you want me to come over, and we'll take a last look, and you can send it.
Thank you.
Thank you for everybody. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Fantasia, is there, do we know when you'll get any correspondence as to if we are granted this?
Thank you. Great question. So sometime in January, they will be scoring all of the applications. And they told us that they would be doing that sometime in January, and either late January or early February, they will probably be reaching out and telling people. The other thing I will say, just as an aside, they have been very, very responsive. Anytime we've made any phone calls with clarifying questions, they've called right back, so they've been really great. So again, I just want to thank everybody for their support.
Thank you. And Angela, before you step away, I just want to make sure, this says this is on for informational and action. Do we need a motion to authorize this at this time?
Asked
It was-
a couple months ago.
I thought so too, but I just want to make sure that there's nothing that this board needs to
Nothing that you
do.
need from us. Perfect.
Okay. Any questions for Angela, or we all set?
And I was made a motion to grant the authorization to them back when it first came on up.
Yep.
And I don't believe that that moved forward.
So do we just want to be on the safe side and just make a motion that we authorize?
That's what I would recommend.
So Sean, do you want to make that motion?
Yeah, I'm making a motion that we authorize the superintendent and/or the assistant superintendent to sign on behalf of the board this application for this grant application via the state of New Hampshire of Natural and Cultural Resources, Division of Parks and Recreation, Land and Water Conservation Fund Grant, round 32.
Second.
Thank you, Sean. Second by Sheila. If there's no further discussion on this, all those in favor?
We're just covering all of our bases.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 7-0-0, the motion passes. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, our next order of business is we have the recording secretary position. We have received the letter of resignation from our recording secretary, Kat Lancaster, who's seated behind me. I'm not happy about this letter, but anyhow, Kat is seeking to resign from the position. She's going to stay on as long as we need her to find a replacement. So I guess we should have a motion to accept her resignation, and I'm going to look to Sheila, because Sheila's usually the one that likes to do these.
This one I don't.
You don't want to do this one, but I'm going to
I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of our recording secretary, Kat Lancaster, with gratitude and thanks from all of us for doing this voluntarily.
Motion by Sheila, a second by Sean. All those in favor of the motion?
Not really.
I know. Anyone opposed? Abstentions. So the motion passes 7-0-0. Kat, none of us are happy. And none of, I thank you for being willing to stay on until we can find a replacement. I'm not sure finding a replacement for you is going to be easy, but we will need to post that if we can.
So that this gets posted as well as our district clerk?
Yes.
We are sure that they are up.
Yep.
And both posted?
Yep, I
please?
will. Yep, and, okay. So then moving on to the next order of business, we have policies review, first and second read.
Yes. So it's actually just second read. We have policy BCG, excuse me, oh geez, BGC, which is the policy review and evaluation, BGE, which is policy dissemination, and JFA, which is residency.
Policy BGC, BGE, and JFA for a second read.
I have a motion by Sheila, second by, was that Barbara?
Yep.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? 7-0-0. Is there any other? There's no other. I'm sorry, I do need to go backwards for a minute, just back to the recording secretary. In our packet, you will see that there's a notice to be posted. Needs to be corrected. The rate of pay is listed in there. I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. Is this notice acceptable to everyone to be posted under this circumstance and with this current rate of pay, or is there any discussion on anything within this notice? We'll proceed as is with the current notice. Okay. So moving on, we now have the administrator's report. Is there-
Nothing additional to report?
Okay. And we also have winter athletic protocol, which is just an executive summary in our packet. And next will be the personnel report. Yes.
Board needs to vote on the resignations of professional staff. There are 10 there. Do you want to go through this one by one?
Sheila, I'll let you take the charge on this. Yep.
Sure.
Okay. I am going to do these one by one because I'm going to accept the retirement of Jane Berrigan, English language art teacher, Timberlane Middle School. Motion to?
Motion by Sheila, second by Steve. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 7-0-0.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the professional retirement of Mark Signallaria. I know I'm killing this right now. Mr. Sig is how my kids call them, so I'm sorry. Science teacher, Timberlane High School.
Motion by Sheila, second by Steve. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? 700.
I'd like to accept the professional retirement of Barry Julian, Director of School Counseling, Timberlane High School, with gratitude and thanks for your service.
Motion by Sheila, second by Steve. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 700.
I would like to make a motion to accept the professional retirement of Kathleen Dresser, phys ed teacher at Timberlane Middle School, with gratitude.
Second.
Motion by Sheila, second by Steve. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 700.
All right, this next one hurts me terribly. I'd like to accept the professional retirement of John Doobie, social studies teacher at the Timberlane Regional High School, with gratitude and thanks, and you will be missed.
Second.
Motion by Sheila, second by Steve. All those in favor? Opposed?
Oh, sorry, I was in favor.
I thought so. Abstentions? Motion passes 700. Next.
That one hit me, huh? I'd like to accept the professional retirement of Barbara Kane, elementary education, Pollard Elementary, with gratitude.
Second.
Motion by Sheila, second by Steve. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? Motion passes 700.
And I would like to accept the professional retirement of Janice Knudten, physical therapist, Timberlane School District, with gratitude and thank you for your service, Janice.
Second.
Motion by Sheila, second by Steve. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? Motion passes 700.
Okay, I'm retired, and I have a feeling I'm going to butcher this one too. So
And
here we go.
Licciardella.
And what?
Licciardella.
Licciardella? I make a motion to accept the professional retirement of Ian Licciardella, English language arts teacher, Timberlane Middle School, with gratitude and thanks for your service.
Second.
Motion by Sheila, second by Steve. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? Motion passes 700.
I would like to make a motion to accept the professional retirement of Tony Mealy with gratitude and thank you for your years of service. You will be missed. Reading and writing specialist, case coordinator, Timberlane High School.
Second.
Motion by Sheila, second by Steve. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? Motion passes 700.
And I would like to accept the professional retirement of Joanne Robichaud for elementary education, Pollard Elementary, and I thank you with gratitude and thank you for your service.
Second.
Motion by Sheila, second by Steve. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstaining?
And if I missed
700.
anybody thanking for your gratitude and service, I apologize. But thank you all so very much.
Nothing more for the personnel report, correct?
That's it.
Okay. Do we have any committee reports or reports of the school board? Sheila?
We will need a non-public,
Yes.
and I think that's it until non-public. Thank you.
Okay. There's no correspondence hold tonight. No vendor and payroll registers to do tonight. Is there any other business? Sheila?
Mr. Kellen, Mr. Finnegan and myself were very lucky to be able to attend the Art Honors Night last Friday night here at the back. Just to sum up a brief time, we have some incredibly talented students at this high school and in these schools. I was actually blown away by some of the portraits that we saw. They were incredible. I invite anybody who wants to come to the back. They're going to be hanging up in the atrium as you walk into the back, up on the walls. I know Mr. Finnegan hasn't gotten over it either. We both keep talking about it. I did miss the show afterwards. And could you talk about that, Mr. Gillen, please, because I did have to leave.
Sure thing, yeah. That too, incredible talent. I feel like it's become a broken record talking about the wonderful things that I've seen from our students here. There was poetry. There were soloists performing songs that they had written. There were soloists and duets performing Broadway show tunes. There was a flautist trio. There was a rock band. There was some, I'm trying to think, more like it was billed as poetry, but it was just a awe-inspiring, emotional performance of a poem that the student had written herself. But it was more than just a reading of a poem. Just outstanding talent. I talked to Eric a little bit about we need to do a better job of perhaps advertising that, but what he explained to me, that is something that the students, he sort of leaves to the students. It's led by the students. There were 3 students that did that, who did an incredible job, but maybe we can help them in advertising some of that with our social media feeds and things like that, because it was just outstanding. There were 14 acts, and the talent was incredible.
The only thing I wanted to add to that is that I want to thank Mr. C for making sure that we got the invitation. I really appreciate it, because we really haven't been able to come into the schools as much as we would like to see these things because of COVID. So I just want to say that I appreciated being able to come in and start seeing some of these things again.
Yes.
Sorry, just really quickly to add to that. All the students, I don't have their names, and perhaps for the January meeting, I'll get their names so that we can congratulate them. But also the art teacher, I forget.
Yes, she was phenomenal too.
Yeah, just incredible. It was a really incredible night, and Mr. C and all those who were involved in putting that on, it was just blown away by the art and the work of the students. So congratulations to all those students and the parents and the teachers and everybody. Sean.
I'd like to actually request that the administration actually put all this stuff in a PowerPoint kind of rotating thing on the district's website, so up at the top page, so that I can get some visibility and stuff, and maybe be a good landing point for other things as we go down the road.
I think I saw a notice somewhere about that they were working on preparing something to put out, so. Is there any other business?
Are we going into a non-public?
In a minute, I have.
Okay.
Nope.
We will be going into a non-public, but before that, I do something.
Yeah, just one other small piece. I'd like to, and I don't think it gets thanked enough, but Dean, who is really everywhere, but just taking pictures and capturing, really just capturing it for everybody. Dean, thank you for all your hard work, and we really appreciate it. So.
Okay, so if we have no other business, and before we will be going into non-public, we'll talk about that in a minute. At this time, the school board would like to announce a transition in the SAU organizational structure. The school board and Dr. Cochran have come to a mutual separation agreement, and he will depart from his role as superintendent effective December 17th, 2021. Assistant Superintendent Chris Kellum will become the superintendent. He will be the acting superintendent. Dr. Cochran has agreed to stay on through the end of this year during the transition and to support the school board by completing a significant policy review project. The board would like to thank Dr. Cochran for his successful work in leading the school reopening plan and his collaboration with the school board in preparing for and implementing the separation from SAU 55 and the strategic development of SAU 106. This work was especially challenging throughout the last 20 months during the COVID pandemic. We wish Dr. Cochran well in his future endeavors. As I also just stated, the school board would also like to announce that Assistant Superintendent Chris Kellum will become the interim superintendent effective December 17th, 2021, and it is expected that he will be appointed as superintendent in the near future. I wish both men and their families the best in all of their futures.
I also want to take this time to wish them, the remainder of our staff, our students, and our community the best for the holiday seasons and hopefully for a very great new year moving forward in 2022, as we will not be meeting again prior to that. With that being said, we are going to move into a non-public. We need to go in under subsection A and subsection C. If I can have motion, that would be great. So, Kat, can you please pull the board?
Mr. Boyle? Yes. Mr. Finnegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Keecha? Mrs. Knutson? Ms. Lowe's? Mr. O'Neill? Mrs. Savage?
Yes. We will not be back out to take, there will be no announcements after non-public, no. We will not be back out. So again, happy holidays to everyone. Have a safe and healthy break. Thank you.